Okay, we are live. Let's see how many people are out there watching us right now. Okay, quite a bit. All right, folks, welcome to episode 1 of the High Council. Now, tonight's episode is on World Class Bullshitters, but in the future, the High Council will have its own channel. And the link was already in the description. So if you go down there and click on that and click subscribe, you will find the High Council. And what is the High Council? Well, the High Council is the home of World Class Bullshitters, Ethan Van Sciver, as well as Diversity in Comics. I don't know what to call us yet. I'll just call us the greatest trio on YouTube. You guys like that one?
I do. I agree with it.
All right, perfect. You sound just like Dion. I love having you on the show. So, everyone knows me. I'm Jeff Hicks, and with me tonight is Ethan Van Sciver.
Yeah, I am Comic Artist Pro Secrets. How come I'm the only one who gets addressed by my real name? Who's Ethan Van Sciver? I am Comic Artist Pro Secrets. And I've had a YouTube channel that focuses on comic book art, the art that I've done and the art that I show you how to do. And most recently, I accidentally saw Star Wars The Last Jedi. And I have been working through recovery from that experience ever since. And I didn't see it when you guys all saw it. I didn't go to the theater to see it. I accidentally downloaded it. I bought it from pay-per-view on cable and watched it with my family. It was my family at first. They left halfway through in disgust. I watched most of it.
Ethan, this is the Kurt Eichenwald story. You just copied it and switched out some of the details.
What do you mean? Are you talking about like just why was I looking up?
No, that's Kurt Eichenwald when he got caught with a porn tab. He said that they have a family tradition where it's called Freak Out Mom, and they were telling her about tentacle porn from Japan, and then they went to go show it to her during dinner, and then they forgot to click it off.
Yeah, the shame is not unlike that situation. And by the way, that's a nice way of introducing Diversity in Comics. Your boy Zach, how you doing tonight?
Pretty good. I'm having a Pizza Hut pizza after work.
That's like the worst pizza that you can get, though.
No, you can get Domino's.
No, it's gone down in quality. It's like I've been eating it for 20 years, and it's a shadow of what it was in like 1999. Just like IDW Comics, the quality of Pizza Hut pizza is tied to the quality of IDW Comics. Exactly. I think Aubrey Sitterson made this pie, actually.
I wouldn't be surprised after we got done with him. I
used to interact with that guy before he was into comics when he worked for THQ in the WWE video games, and I thought he was a dick back then, so I'm glad it's carried over into the rest of his career.
All he had to do was write G.I. Joe. I mean, honestly, G.I. Joe is a dream comic. It really is. Like, what a great situation to find yourself in. Writing G.I. Joe.
Well, I'm a little young for G.I. Joe, so I grew up with, like, that crappy G.I. Joe Extreme toy line, and then there was the movies, and the movies are garbage. So I do respect G.I. Joe, but I guess it was from a different time.
Yeah, we've got 15 years on you, but I still think G.I. Joe seems to be something that spans generations. For me, I was more of a. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, there was kind of like this bubble in the 90s where it died. Like my son grew up with it because it had a resurgence in like 10, 12 years ago, but it's kind of dead again, like as far as a toy line.
What was the resurgence? The movies?
No, they just started. It was basically kind of like a Gen X nostalgist and also sell it to their kids thing that started like 2005. They had a good like 5 years where it came back and then it died again.
They had a 25th anniversary toy line that came out, which was actually a really well-made toy line. And I saw those and I was like, oh, cool, G.I. Joe. Maybe I'll get a Cobra Commander. And then, I was in high school, so I didn't have the money.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to do G.I. Joe. I'd like to draw it. I'd need somebody to write it for me because I don't know. I'm not an expert in it, but man, I could make those characters look cool.
You make everything look pretty damn cool.
You know who would be a good writer? And I'm not doing a bit. I'm not joking. Is I just read this Green Lanterns by Tim Seeley, and that book was awesome in a very mainstream way. So he'd be great for something like G.I. Joe.
Well, I don't disagree. I'm a big fan of Tim, and I would love to work with him on something. I would like to work with him on Cyberfrog. By the way, speaking of Cyberfrog and GI Joe and things of that nature, kinda. You've got an Indiegogo going on right now, and I don't want to waste much time before we actually bring that up and discuss that.
Sorry, I was doing.
I thought you would want to talk about that.
Yeah, it was very awkward. It was a very awkward intro. So yeah, I've got an Indiegogo for a book called Jawbreakers Lost Souls. It's basically G.I. Joe meets The Expendables meets, I don't know, The Avengers or Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a one-shot. It's doing pretty darn good. And so what's happening is we're adding a lot of things to it. So as the campaign does better, you'll literally get more bang for your buck. You'll literally get more stuff for the same amount of money.
I'm looking at it right now. Good for you, man. Good for you. Wow.
Yeah.
In a couple of days. Yeah. That's the thing about these campaigns too. It's like they start out big, you get a big bang in the beginning, and you get a big bang at the end of the campaign. I think that all these other comic book related campaigns from people that I know, I think you're going to beat them all. I'm pretty encouraged by what I see. It just kind of goes to show these fans. Hang on, I'm looking it up right now.
I am looking at it right now. It's really good artwork.
Oh yeah, I got a new page too. After this, I'm going to put it up. I got page 8, and this is what's so crazy. Sorry, I got food in my mouth. So I showed the first 5 pages, or like 7 pages. There was this girl, and she was just like in 3 or 4 panels in the whole book. People went nuts for her. They said, "Who is this woman? What's her name? What does she do?" I rewrote the story on the fly, and I said, "Hey, John, the artist, you put her in the next page with the Jawbreakers, and we're just going to figure out what she does." So she's instead of just hiring them, now she's on the team.
What's her name?
I forgot. She was only in 4 panels. So I even told John, I go, "What's her name? You got the script. I'm like in Houston." And he told me her name. It's like a DB or a Kima or something like that.
Wait, did you come up with it or John came up with it?
I Googled female African names and I picked the first one because she was a minor character. Her name will probably change.
That's why it begins with the letter A.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about comics. If you keep your ear to the ground, and you're supposed to keep your ear to the ground, you can kind of feel the tremors of fandom, and you kind of figure out what they're interested in and what to kind of go with. Back in the 1960s, Julius Schwartz used to actually directly ask kids, like, "Hey, what do you want to see Superman doing?" And the kids would say, "Fighting a purple dinosaur." And so he'd be like, "Cool." And that's what would happen. I mean, he would just find a way to write a comic book about Superman fighting a purple dinosaur. Now, somewhere along the way, we lost that instinct. And I think it became all about
I've been having a debate all day today with artists from DC. So I've been making this analogy. I've been saying, comic book artists, your customer service industry, and they push back against that very, very hard. But you know what? I had no real strong female characters or major female characters in Jawbreakers Lost Soul. The people spoke up. They're like, "We want to see more of her. She's in the story now, and it's going to be that much better." And it's because of the customer fan feedback and us listening to it.
Yeah, that can definitely turn. Like, I met a couple big artists at conventions, and they were kind of douchey, so I kind of just stopped being big fans of them.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah, it bothers. Like, here's a nice one. I met Mark Begley at the Cincinnati Comic Expo, and he was super nice. And I already was a super fan, so I've continued to buy his stuff, even if I'm not super interested in everything, just because he was such a nice. Same with what's his name, Alex Savick. He's my Facebook friend now. That is like the nicest dude I've ever met.
Who is it?
He used to. I think it's either Alex Savick or Alex Savick. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
So Savick. Oh yeah. Yeah. I love that guy.
Yeah, Web of Spider-Man back in the 80s. Like, that's what was coming out when I was born, and I've gone back and collected everything, and he was so nice. And we're
That
like,
was a great run.
it was. I really love 80s Spider-Man beyond like any other era of Spider-Man. Even the early stuff is great, but that late 80s Spider-Man is just like really strong.
He was on
Oh,
Web
yeah.
of Spider-Man forever. And I look at those guys. Guys like Alex Saviuk are now kind of out of mainstream comics, and now he's kind of doing, I think he's doing the Phantom comic strip for newspapers. And I just think, these companies like IDW and Boom would really kind of be benefited if they would go find these guys and hire them instead of untested young talent. And I know I sound like an old guy, but I mean, why don't you go and find some of this like super tested, super skilled, older talent that isn't working at Marvel and DC anymore, and put them on GI Joe
Well,
and put them on Transformers.
there's this Jerry Seinfeld bit where he was talking about when you go to the movie theater, everyone there is either 18 or they're 65 years old. And he basically said that's the circle of life. There's room, like you said, there's room for once you get that old and maybe you got a little heat. One of actually the kind of good things is now you're not priced out of the market. So yeah, I always think that because, and this might get a little like condescending or weird, but if someone's been out of the mainstream for a while, their rate has to go down realistically. So you could get that 30 years of talent for cheaper, and also get the older fans and have them, a younger inker go over their composition to learn how to draw.
Did you guys ever read what happened to Herb Trimpe?
No.
Yeah, I read that whole. It was like 10 years ago. He wrote a big essay about it. I probably don't have the most charitable thoughts on it. Actually, I probably have the atypical response to it.
He just kind of got, like you said, priced out, and he passed away, correct? A couple years ago.
Yeah, right. Like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, so it didn't seem like the end was too good for him. You hear all those things about comic book artists, and there's a lot of sadness that comes with the industry. For as much as comic books make everyone happy and the movies make other people billions of dollars, the people that actually created this shit a lot of times get hosed. Like, Zach, I remember when you put out your Jack Kirby video, and I think it was the centennial of his life.
Yeah.
I was really, really happy because I love Jack Kirby's work, but you were honest about him. I think a lot of people elevate him to he did so much, but certain things he drew towards the end of his career weren't that great. And it's sad that he had to work that far into his career and then, kind of just disappeared. Everyone was focused on Eric Larson and Todd McFarlane and all those guys at the time. And then even nowadays, people don't know him. Everyone knows Stan Lee, but he only did, half the work, if that.
People know Jack, but they think he was a Nazi puncher. I mean, the entire this young generation sees Jack Kirby as a tough guy now, and not as one of the greatest creative minds of the 20th century.
Well, every time I go to a comic convention, that's what I ask people. Like, they'll be talking about how much they love Deadpool, this and that and the other. I'm like, well, so what do you think of Jack Kirby? And they go, who? And I go, oh. And that's kind of me. That's just kind of my little litmus test, because how can you not know him at this point? With the exception of like Spider-Man, and even then he did some work on it. What didn't he do for them? Didn't do for Marvel?
What do you think about what's going on with Stan Lee right now? I mean,
what's going on with him?
Oh my God! Well, he apparently his daughter is abusive towards him. Now, I was just complaining a little while ago. I had a video taken down by YouTube because I did a searing just video about these, and I don't even know who it is. I don't know who these people are, but these idiots they stole his blood. Okay, I mean, they literally conned him out of giving blood until he was woozy. It's a 95-year-old man, and then they took the blood and they mixed it with ink. God, I wish this wasn't true. It's so weird. They mixed it with ink, and then they were producing these kind of DNA signature special editions of Black Panther that were being sold in Las Vegas for exorbitant sums of money. And so they were caught. This is stolen blood. Somebody said, this is Stan's stolen blood. And basically, once the people who had bought the comics realized that, they kind of, surrendered the comics with the stolen blood ink on them. This was such a weird story that, and I told it with absolute fury and indignation, and YouTube took the video down. I've never had that happen before. But then that was just the first thing. The second thing is Stan Lee just had to come out and basically what was released, some sort of legal document, a deposition about the fact that his daughter is physically abusive to him. She's 68 years old. She's smacking him around. She's demanding his money. He's saying things like, she has always insisted that she deserves to be rich, but Joan and I just didn't have the money to. We didn't have the money to make her as rich as she wanted to be. She'd run up credit card bills, $20,000 to $40,000 a month.
Ooh.
And when I didn't give her the money, she'd hit me. Apparently, a witness saw her grab Stanley by the back of the head and slam him into a wall when she didn't get her way. I think she wanted a car or something like that. And poor Stan can't take it anymore. So I think today Kevin Smith came out and said, "Come live with me." And I think, like, how many fans feel the same way, like, on hearing that? It's just like, Stan, come live in my home. I'll take care of you for your last few years. It's ridiculous. This has been the weirdest year of physical and emotional abuse and exploitation for this guy who represents the very best of comics. This is how we're saying goodbye to him.
I thought the nurse thing was going to be his. Remember when the nurse came out with the sexual abuse allegations?
Oh my God!
I thought that was it. Because
I thought that was going to kill him. I literally thought that the stress from that. I thought he was going to be dead within a couple weeks.
Yeah, when your video came out, I was really depressed.
Yeah, oh yeah. I was literally walking on like a cold street in New Haven, Connecticut, like just recording that after, heading to the train station. I was just so pissed because, I mean, it's I don't know. I can't even read the articles about Stan Lee anymore because, like you said, it's a new horror every day. I mean, I'm assuming there's got to be some way to take a legal charge of a elder who can't take care of himself. I don't know, like a fostering for seniors or something. Like this is crazy. They were saying that they had to tell him how to spell his name at a autograph session last weekend or something like that.
Jesus,
like that doddering.
Well, that's the thing. He first of all, I felt this way for 10 years. I saw Stan Lee 10 years ago. I'll tell this story. I've never told this story before. Should I tell this Stan Lee story?
Of course.
Yeah.
Something he said to me. Let me think about it real quick. I'm better. Maybe. No. All right. I'm not going to tell.
Okay.
I'm not gonna, I'll wait. I'll wait until he's gone before I actually tell people what he actually said to me one time. I hate to leave it like that, but I think now is the wrong time to tell that story. But having said that, I used to watch him signing stacks and stacks and stacks of books. 10 years ago, he seemed too old to do it. 85 years old. And I'd say, these are your fans, right? I was still very naive. These are your fans. These books. These are they're going to be heirlooms to these people. I mean, and he's like, these aren't my fans. Like he still sounded like Stan Lee, the narrator of the Incredible Hulk cartoon, in the 80s. But he's saying, he's bitter. He's like, these aren't my fans. He's like, these people, they're nobody's fans. He's like, they're going to take these books, and as soon as I'm gone, they're just going to sell them for a profit. And this is how I spend my Sunday afternoon. And I was like, damn. And then he said something after that, and that's what I'm saving for later, another time. But it was incredible. But anyway, like, I'm just thinking first of all, who is making him do this? Now, when I'm 85 to 95 years old, if I'm blessed to live that long, I don't want to be shuttled around to small towns in Texas, and all over the world just to sit there in a tiny little room signing, Ethan Van Sciver, over and over again on my comics from 40 years ago. That just seems like a really miserable way. I want to let's have Stan Lee out on a beach, like on a beach house, sitting on a recliner, maybe reading a book, having a book read to him, being fed lunch and icy cold lemonade, maybe a beer if he's allowed. That's how Stan Lee should be living his life right now. And instead, fandom. And I love you fans. I love you comic book fans. You got to stop asking for his autograph. You got to stop asking to have him come to these conventions, because this is not the way we want to say goodbye to Stan Lee. I'm absolutely furious about it. It's like, this is the most, we have one big legacy champion of comics left. And the way we are saying goodbye to him is just as horrible as you'd expect it to be with the way everything else is going in this country. I mean, isn't it amazing that it's like, okay, so accused of sexual harassment right after his wife dies. He gets sucked into the Me Too movement at age 94. Age 95, you find out that like his blood was stolen from him. His bank account emptied. Somebody bought a house out of his bank account.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh shit! I'm behind. I'm so sorry.
His daughter's smacking him around. I mean, you know, it's like, and it's it really is amazing. It's like it's almost like I wish we could come together as fans and protect Stan Lee.
Now, somebody threw a quick question out there. What about Steve Ditko? I guess in terms of, you know, comic book legacy, who's still alive?
He's living he's living his last days out the right way. He's not letting fans anywhere near him, and I don't blame him. It's like this is what is in store for you. Like if Steve Ditko made himself available to fans, I'm afraid they'd exploit him the same way they're exploiting Stan Lee.
But look at somebody like John Romita Sr., who has had just as a big a career, probably bigger if we're going to be honest, and he seems very open to fans. There's a guy, I think his name's not Mike Royer, that's an inker. There's a guy who is like a fan of Romita's, and he goes to his house and he'll sign stuff and get commissions and do all this stuff, and you don't really hear similar stories. I feel like for somebody that was a big impact on the industry, he has like a really happy medium. He's got a good family, people respect him, and he still goes out and does stuff and then leaves and lives a comfortable life and watches TV.
What do you think of that, Zach?
Well, so I always respected John Romita Sr., but the thing that I was really into was John Romita Jr. I'm a huge fan of his. Not as much now, but definitely during like the 80s and 90s.
Because he was great back then.
I've seen interviews with him, and I've talked to people who know about him, and he says the Romita family, this is just their plumbing or carpentry. Like they act like blue collar tradesmen. They're very matter of fact. They're very, you sit down, you work for 8 hours, you get up, and then you do it the next day. So they've never seemed like the celebrity types, or, they're doing just fine, but they definitely have, I think they're from Long Island or something, kind of a blue collar look at life.
Well, I just meant like as a guy that's had interactions with all the big names from, when Romita started in the 40s, but either way, from then till now, who would still be able to be used as like a font of knowledge. Because I mean, Steve Ditko closed himself off from Marvel in 1967, 6, something like that.
Yeah,
he left one day because I love Spider-Man, and the Ditko issues are okay. I don't think his arts is. A lot of people get into arguments with me online, especially this guy named Arlen Schumer. I'm sure you guys have heard of him. He's interesting, but I like Ditko and I respect his work, and I think he's like an all-time great creator. But I don't know. There's something I never really got into about his artwork on Spider-Man. Doctor Strange is a different story.
I loved him. I'm a big fan. I love Steve Ditko's Spider-Man, and actually, I think I prefer it to John Romita Sr.'s. I think John Romita Sr. was the guy that did the Spider-Man that was on lunchboxes and pillowcases, but Steve Ditko's Spider-Man was special. It was it's at root. It's the seed that grew into Todd McFarlane. Just the like wonkiness of it, the weirdness of it.
Well, I know. I mean, I look at your videos, and I know your art. I've known it for years. There's very little consistency through his panels in a lot of those books, and that's what always turns me off. One panel, Spider-Man has really big eyes, and it's not meant for emotion. And then his eyes are tiny. This one is art, like the iconic panel where he lifts up the thing from, was it number 37? Underneath all the weight of this shit.
Yeah.
Like his arm's not connected, and all this other crap. And I look at that, and different times, not shitting on the guy in any way whatsoever, but I always look at it and I get it, but I just see those things, and I don't see those in Romita's artwork. I just see like a veneer of quality in all of his stuff, and especially in terms of action, attractive people, better environments. There's just so much. It's a richer world. Like when I read his books, I'm like, wow, this feels more like New York. When I look at the Ditko stuff, it feels like I don't even know what this is. It's
clean and polished. The Romita stuff, absolutely. I agree with what you're saying, but I'm more interested in. It's not that. Well, I prefer to really pore over and look at the beauty of each panel. I just find it compelling because it's so weird. So just on that level as an artist, I just think Steve Ditko is wonderful. Now he did come back in the '80s, didn't he, Zach? He had Speedball.
He actually did Squirrel Girl and then Speedball, and Speedball was I seem to be the only person in the world who remembers this, but Speedball got a huge publicity push for like half of 1988. They really thought it was going to be the next Spider-Man.
I remember.
I have that
You
book
remember
too.
that too?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, they thought it was going to be huge. They're like, it's happening again. And this is what the one thing I love about, well, to me it's not old Marvel, but like 80s, they would try something, it would fail, and then they would stop it and they go, oh, what did we do wrong? Now Marvel does something, it fails, and they blame the fans, and then they just give it back to you right again, exactly the same way.
No, even worse. They listen to what you didn't like about it and give that to you harder.
Yeah. So what they did is they go, okay, we realize Speedball is not he's not a lead character. He can't hold his own book. And he's also, we played him as a straightforward character, but he's pretty goofy. So like he kind of sat on the bench for like a year, and then they brought him back as one of the new Warriors. And that was great. He was an awesome character in that whole run with Fabian Nicieza, or however you say it.
Mm-hmm. Well, don't you understand, Zach, that comic books are art. They are not anything like hamburgers at all. They're fine art. This is a chance to look inside the souls of these geniuses who are working on them. It's not about making fans happy. It's not about light entertainment. It's not about creating popcorn fluff entertainment for readers to just enjoy a diversion for 20 minutes. Why? It's art. It's art. And if you don't like it, don't buy it, by the way, because we can afford to have that kind of an attitude in this industry right now, when sales are basically at some points about 800 copies of what would normally be considered a mainstream book. If you don't like it, if you don't like what this person is doing, they're aggressively insulting comics, don't buy it. Don't buy it. And by the way, this person speaks for one of the big companies that actually has a budget, that has a quota, and they're telling the customers, don't buy it if you don't like it. And that seems to be a better deal, I think. I think that makes more sense than the Speedball model, which is, hey, let's try this out. It didn't work. Okay, let's pull this back for a little while and give them what they do want. Or like what you're doing, where it's like, hey, here's this character that like is just a background character, but she appeared prominently in a panel and people responded to her. And now I'm going to write her into the book more to maybe sell more copies.
Dude, it was so cool because John Malin had so literally she came in, she hired him, and then she disappears for like 20 pages. So he had the next like 3 pages laid out, and it was a bunch of group shots, like a bunch of guys in 2 Jeeps, a bunch of guys jumping through the air. And so I literally told him, I go, put her in, and now she's in. Like that's all you had to do. It was perfect. And he just swapped out, like, instead of like Cuffs' face, now it's hers. And it's like, oh wow, that all I had to do is listen to people who are giving me money. It's like, it's the craziest thing. It's like something like you would like go up to like, the old the wise man on the top of the mountain, and you say, I want to become rich, and he's like, ask people what they want and then give it to them. It's like,
yeah. You never at any point felt the need to call them sexist for wanting to see more of this beautiful woman and tell them to go away and block them and not buy your book?
No, I want to make lots and lots of money.
So weird.
Whenever someone says something, I say, oh boy, is this going to make them not want to watch my videos, buy my books? How can I retain them or get them back? And that's my motivation for all this stuff.
So wait a second. So you put yourself second to the needs of your customers, your fans, the people that are paying your bills?
I would say I put the money first, and then the customers are next. And the customers are between me and the money. So right. I need to get in their good graces. And then, it's like a little video game. It's like, what do you, I like that money there. What do I need to do it? Well, we really like this girl. You got it. I actually said this about Dan Didio. I said, this guy's a hot dog vendor, and people took it as a insult, and I meant it as a huge compliment. He'll substitute one bun, the wheat bun, and then people don't like it. He'll take the wheat bun, he'll throw it on the ground. He's like, I hated that bun too. Here's the old bun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's actually a really great metaphor. I do like that. We should
also, honestly, he does look like he sells hot dogs. Like I get.
I don't know. I always thought he looked like a football coach.
Yeah, I can see that.
Looks like my football coach.
But I mean, that's kind of what this is. I know people kind of bristle at the idea that comics are a service industry. I mean, they aren't directly a service industry, but it wouldn't hurt to actually take some of the lessons, some of the ideas behind running a service industry, and trying to apply them to your entertainment product. And I think that doesn't apply all the way across the board. I think there are some comics that are definitely art, and they intend to be art, and you really do have to just kind of say, hey, I'm going to let the artist go and do this, and if I don't like it, I'm not going to buy it. But this needs to happen on this artist's own terms. But that's not Spider-Man. That's not Squirrel Girl. That's not Batman. Those are definitely.
Yeah, the thing you're describing is the pure art, basically no commercial aspect. That's a completely legitimate endeavor, but it needs. So basically, they had this book called I think it was called Big Numbers by Alan Moore and Bill Sienkiewicz, I think. And you could tell he thought it was he was really proud of it. Of course, it didn't do that well, but it did way better than the mainstream books do now because it came out in like 1990 when sales were huge for like every single comic. So you need Spider-Man to be as mainstream as popcorn as it can be, so you can go have some pure artiste like Brandon Graham or something like that who just doing whatever he wants.
Well, Marvel's effectively turned me off from Spider-Man, somebody that's trying to collect every issue, and almost there too. I just stopped reading the book because of how shitty it's been for the past 2 years, maybe 3. I don't know how far back I stopped reading, but they're able to do that. So, thanks, guys.
Well, when Spider-Man's not selling well, you're in trouble. I mean, that's just that portends bad things for my little brother's comic books. I mean, my little brother does cartoon books for Fantagraphics, and I mean, if people just aren't coming into the shops to buy, the staple comics like Batman and Spider-Man, then they're not going to be there looking for. He's not going to have the opportunity to catch their eye as well.
Well, I feel bad for my local shop because I love my local comic book store. They're great people, but the books aren't really interesting to me right now, so I have no purpose to go in and buy anything. And I guess it trickles down and ruins it for everybody.
Well, I still believe. I'm excited about one thing. I was telling my wife, I was just like, I'm so excited about doing Cyberfrog again. I'm so excited about it. Are you psyched about about doing Jawbreakers at this point with John Mallon? And I mean,
oh yeah, God, yeah. Every email I get, it's like the biggest deal. I look at these pages, and then it just becomes a thing. It's like, how can I do this more? What can the next Jawbreakers book be? I did a video where I just kind of told the backstory for the 5 leads. And people started flipping out. They said, I want a mini series of each one of these guys. So this book that I thought was just going to be one book, it's now a second one. And now it could potentially be 5 more mini series. This could keep me busy for years, just this one franchise.
Beautiful. I'll do one of them.
Oh, seriously. Yeah, that's not a problem. You can do any of the ones you want. But you did mention, I was getting in the elevator. You were talking about Cyberfrog, and have you ever been in a really, really big, like a freight elevator?
Yes.
I just want, like, they go in there and then he pops through a panel and they're just wailing on him like crazy. My Jawbreakers would hate Cyberfrog. They would see him and they would want to kill him instantly, just on general principle. He's a monster.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Cyberfrog is that he has a navigation system that's planted in a swamp, in upstate New York, that actually anticipates the jawbreakers and reformats his body to deal with them. And so, believe me, he's dealt with a lot worse than the jawbreakers, and he would fuck them up. Excuse my language.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
It would be a big deal. It would be a lot of fun. This is all video game stuff. I mean, that's what I love about this stuff. It's just like, the idea of, okay, you can't do this all the time. You can't do this, but this is what doing indie comics with your friends is like. And I did this in the 90s with Trent Kanuga and Matt Martin, when we had our own characters and we were just kind of doing our own thing. Now, you and I can sit there, and if we want to, we both own our characters, we own our franchises, and we have plenty more ideas to go. You and I could just sit down and go, you know what? Like, at this point, we've earned this fan base. Okay. I mean, right now, your book is going to sell 1,200 copies so far. It's going to do way better than that. That is a pretty good fan base. We'll see how Cyberfrog does. That's going to be my fan base. And like, let's just have fun with these. Let's give them something cool to get them excited about it. If they want to see Cyberfrog fight the Jawbreakers, let's do it. Let's give them a book, just the way like Frank Miller and Todd McFarlane in 1992 were just like, let's just do Batman versus Spawn.
That is so. Yeah, we were talking about that, and I was thinking about some other things. And I'm even talking to a guy right now about a soon to be announced thing, and he's probably either our age or a little older, but he's been in for a while, and he was getting excited. And you kind of think of his excitement as kind of like a young person's. You don't think about guys in their 40s like, wouldn't that be so cool? But it is. It's like, he goes, the way you guys are doing things now, that's the way Image was when it started. Jim Lee would just say, can I have Savage Dragon? And I'm going to, can Grifter meet Savage Dragon? They'd be like, yeah, sure. It was all very just kind of like fun and just play it by ear. And you didn't have to write a contract or anything like that. So yeah, it's definitely, excitement is very contagious, enthusiasm as well.
That's what we have to get to. I mean, it already kind of feels that way. It already kind of feels like Image in 1991, where you're free to do whatever you want. There's nobody who is saying you can't do this. This is the great thing about being independent. And I feel like so many people just kind of squander their independence on drawing a movie script that they wrote that they're trying to get made into a film. It's never going to happen. Create characters that can interact with each other. Create a world, and that's what George Lucas did. I mean, we all kind of share Star Wars in common. It's like that's what George Lucas did. He created a world within Star Wars that there are so many moving pieces and so many environments and so many ideas that anybody can do a Star Wars anything, a comic, a novel. They can screw up a big gigantic movie franchise
multiple times.
Yeah, and get ready to do it again. It's
I gotta tell you, all of this you're saying, and I'm just still pissed you said Cyberfrog would beat the Jawbreakers, because right now I'm telling you what they're doing. They are sealing the elevator shut, and they're cutting the cable, and they're basically saying we're all gonna die. They will never give up to this mutated monster you created.
All right, now picture them doing that to Bugs Bunny, basically. Now, how would Bugs Bunny react to that? As the elevator's plummeting and everybody's panicking because we're all going to die, Bugs Bunny would sit there and just look at his watch and tap his foot as the elevator fell. And that's kind of who Cyberfrog is. He's like, this ain't going to hurt me. It's going to hurt you. I'm going to be just fine. So I mean, look, it would be fun. I'm sure the Jawbreakers, because I don't even know all the Jawbreakers very well. I need to know what their powers are. I need to know who they used to be. Now, we were talking about like Cyberfrog, the book that I'm doing. The whole idea is that the world ended on August 17th, 1998. That's the premise of Cyberfrog. It ended because of an alien invasion. Now you're saying that your guys used to be costume superheroes in the 90s.
Yeah, they were like regular Joe Schmo, wear a mask, wear tights, all that type of stuff.
Now, I think that if the world ended in 1998, they never would have changed to become the Jawbreakers they are today. They never would have become mercenaries because there's no one to pay them. So they'd still be 20 years older and still wearing those costumes. This
possibly.
alternate reality. Yeah. I don't know. I'd want to take them back to 1998 and just see what they were like first. And then
What is
bring them
August
up
17th? What happened? What's the significance of that?
That's the date. That's just the date when the world ended. You want to know why? You want to know why August 17th?
Yeah.
Okay, August 17th was a very important day in American history. It's the day Bill Clinton, the president, was forced to admit he was lying about what happened with Monica Lewinsky. And he had to go on TV and he had to admit he was a liar. And in my opinion, that's when the world ended. That's when things changed. Not 9/11, but at that moment. At that moment. I mean, that was as significant a moment, as psychically scarring a moment to the American people was it as psychically so? Well, it's definitely, Nixon resigning, Watergate, JFK's assassination. It was a real big deal to know that your president was a liar. It really scrambled people's brains. And it also, brought, sex, like, blowjobs into the public, the national conversation. People had to talk about that with their kids. Now,
I just remember it being a one big joke back in the 90s.
Of course. But it ruined it ruined a lot of things. It really changed things. And I always thought, it's like if I had to pick one moment, also coincidentally, that was the month and year that I quit drawing Cyberfrog to go work for DC Comics. So
that's what I thought. I thought it was the first issue of Impulse. That's what my guessing was.
Yeah, that's correct. They both coincided. But I mean, what's interesting is like if the world ended on that date, like 9/11 wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean? Like the whole like Bush versus Gore wouldn't have happened. Like all of these things that have been, all of these like traumas never would have happened. It just all would have come to an end right at a point where America kind of maintained a little bit of its innocence still. And that's when an alien invasion comes in and changes everything.
So that's a good segue for I've actually got to go work on my regular job right now. So I got to dip out.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm over here for it's like a training conference, so I got to do a little bit of studying and stuff like that. But good.
All right, Zach. Well, we will reconvene for episode 2. Ethan, are you going anywhere?
No, I'm not going anywhere. I'll hang out for a little while.
All right, we'll continue this for a few more minutes, and let's see where we can take it.
All right, see y'all.
See you next time.
Bye, Zach.
So the chat's been going crazy about all kinds of shit. So if there's anything, a lot of people keep talking about Star Wars. God damn it.
Well, I know we're gonna have to talk about Star Wars a little bit. I mean, we're gonna have to talk about the fact that Mark Hamill, while you were away, and the chat might not know this, but World Class Bullshitters was away for 5 days, and he isn't aware yet. I'm gonna have to break it to him. Mark Hamill has decided, he's declared that he is no longer interested in being in Star Wars. He said, look, you killed Leia, you killed Han Solo, and you killed Luke. What do you need me for again? He's like, I'm out of here. How do you feel about that?
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders and every Star Wars fan's shoulders, because now we know for sure that if we choose to never come back and see another Star Wars movie in theaters, the original cast is not going to be there, because Harrison Ford sure as shit isn't going to come back, and Carrie Fisher can't come back, no matter how much she may want to. So it's refreshing to know that it's the end. It's almost depressing though to know this is how it ends. Like why couldn't he go out in a blaze of glory? Like who's a character that went out in a blaze of glory? Ethan?
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
There we go.
I mean, I don't know. A better question might be, why couldn't they just keep making movies with these? I mean, obviously, I know Carrie Fisher wasn't going to be with us for longer. That was not in our control. But certainly, arms could have been twisted in terms of Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill. I mean, he's only not with us because his heart's broken. I mean, I think he still would want to make Star Wars movies if they were decent representations of Luke Skywalker, but they're not.
Well,
And
have
he
you ever
told them.
watched the interview from Empire of Dreams at the end where so Empire of Dreams is a documentary from the first DVD set, and at the end of the documentary, Mark Hamill goes on to say when he finished Return of the Jedi, it was like the end of the semester at school. When you clean out your locker, you're happy it's over, but you kind of are going to miss everybody. And he goes, Luke Skywalker had so many great adventures to go on, and even back then, he wanted to go on these great adventures. Now, there was no great adventure after that. He ran off and he became an old dick.
Yeah, isn't it weird? I will never understand why they didn't make more Star Wars movies in the 1980s and 90s. I really don't understand why George Lucas couldn't get that together. I'm sure that the cast, while they were still young and chipper, would have been up for it. I don't understand why everyone had exhibited these emotional problems or something about it.
George Lucas has gone to on record to say that he chose to rest Star Wars after Return of the Jedi because Kenner Toys had approached him about making more toys and keeping things going and more merchandise after Return of the Jedi, and it was George Lucas himself that said, "I want to rest Star Wars," and I think that's a good thing because it helped us appreciate the original trilogy for such a long time that nothing will live up to that level now. That's like the modern myth of the 20th century.
I agree, but now with the benefit of having seen what's going on now these days,
you're right. You're right.
I mean, it's like, could we have just if there was going to be more Star Wars, and I can't tell you how I felt when I heard about Force Awakens. No, even before that, the Phantom Menace. I mean, just was so intriguing to actually know that there was going to be another Star Wars movie. It's incredible, and now it all seems like I got my head flushed down the toilet.
Well, looking back, if I could control history and time, I would have had Episode 7 come out in 1999 when all the actors still looked good. Because then I would have believed that Han Solo and Luke and Leia could have went on a big, more missions. And if you had to kill off one, then you do it in the heat of battle, not I gave up on the side of a mountain because I'm, again, an old dick. It's the dumbest thing ever. And the funny thing is, we talked about this community that has been built out of the ashes of Star Wars. Disney's never going to get this back under control. Here's the thing. Solo could be the best movie, but it's going to suffer the Justice League fate. People hate it before it's even out. It's not going to be this surprise hit. It's going to come out. Everyone's talking about how sucky it is. Even places like, I think it was Entertainment Weekly or someone was trying to do a parody piece on it. So it's just out there, and it's tangible. It's like, fuck this movie. Trailers, people aren't receiving the trailers well. The merchandise, who gives a shit? Star Wars merchandise is nothing nowadays. And then you're going to get to a point where the movie comes out and people are going to see it and they're going to go, because they're conditioned to hate it already. And how is that good for Disney on any level? Good.
I think it's going to be like, it's going to come out and it's going to be, at best, it's going to be better than people thought it was going to be. I mean, I'm gearing myself up for that. Like, I'm hoping that I go to see Solo and it doesn't ruin my night. You know what I mean? Like, I'll skip out of the theater. I'll feel like, wow, because I've already decided. I mean, you and I, we have Star Wars channels now, and people come to us, for our opinions about things. They want to know what we think about Star Wars things. That's why I buy these toys. And by the way, I get so many like angry reactions from people that I'm purchasing this stuff. I'm like, I'm doing it for you. They're like, no, you're giving your money to Disney. I'm like, do you see what I'm doing with these things when I'm done? At the end of the video, I actually mount my trash can like horizontally and I throw it into my garbage can like a football as hard as I can. That's how I end most of my like Star Wars merchandise videos. I throw them away. It's not like I'm promoting Disney. It's true. I gave them $5 for my Rose Tico action figure. But it's like, I don't think I'm selling any more of them by the way I review them.
Well, why don't we correct your fan base right now, listeners? Anyone that ever chastises Ethan for buying a Star Wars figure, Disney made their money. Walmart buys the product at cost. Then when you buy it, you're paying Walmart. Walmart's already paid Disney. So when it's at the store, Disney's made their money. So don't get mad at somebody like Ethan who makes a parody for purchasing the thing. It's like, oh my God, you just gave Disney $20 of your dollars. No, he gave Walmart $20.
I'm trying to save Toys R Us, everyone. Some of you don't want to save Toys R Us. I do. Maybe it's too late. Maybe it's too late.
Mine closes tomorrow.
Are you serious?
Yep, 90% off, and it's going to be gone forever. Like I told Michael of Retro Blasting, I was there the first day it opened, and I'm going to go the last day it closes. That's it. Even if I don't buy jack shit, that Toys R Us is gone. And on my way back from New Orleans, I saw a whole string of defunct Toys R Us's, and it was very sad.
Yeah, I blame Star Wars for that.
I think Star Wars has hurt the idea of what modern toys are. Maybe Star Wars didn't cause Toys R Us's financial ruin, but I think Star Wars toys has caused a problem for the way merchandise will be consumed going forward, because it was originally revolutionary.
Yeah.
In the way of the 3 3/4 inch action figure and collect them all and everything like that. And now there's just so much garbage that you don't collect anything, and it just hurts stores. And the name Star Wars, that logo, people don't want to see it anymore. And Disney can't get that through their fucking heads.
It's like a disease. It's like scabies or something. Like too much Star Wars product. That yeah, I mean, you see that Star Wars label, it looks like a toe tag on a corpse. And let me tell you something. I really do think that, like, in the 1970s and the 80s, I don't know what it was that actually limited the variety and number of Star Wars products that were out there, but it was a healthy thing. It was a healthy thing. And nowadays, yeah, there's just Star Wars everything everywhere. And you're right, the end result of it is not to buy more, it's to buy even less than you would have if the product was more limited. You don't want it. I don't want this.
I don't want anything from them anymore. They could give me the most detailed Luke Skywalker figure, and I'd be like, sorry guys, he's dead in the movies. Why am I interested in old man Luke?
Oh my God, yeah. Not only that, he's got an attitude problem. Why do I want a doll of somebody with an attitude problem? Why do I want an action figure, with 100,000 points of articulation of a loser, somebody who can't get up off his ass and save the galaxy? Why do I want that? I don't want that. I don't want it.
And these are all choices made intentionally by Disney. It's not like they were trying to do something revolutionary to hook a new generation. These were choices. There were board meetings where people sat around and made these decisions. And I guarantee you, Disney and Lucasfilm are smart enough to have had people around to go, hey guys, this will cause this problem. And they said no. They were focused on the agenda, whatever they were worried about. They stuck with that, and now look where they are.
They all got together and said, how can we make Ethan and Jeff feel bad? But seriously, that was a consideration. Like, how can we bum America out? How can we bum China out? I know how we can bum China out. Rose Tico. Perfect. Great idea. Make the toys. Can we get a frumpy little fat, flat-chested midget with a scowl on her face? We can? Great.
I don't even think she has a scowl. She just looks like pathetic the whole time. She's like, oh, I've given up.
Dude, she's angry every time she's on the screen. I look at her, and the look on her face looks like I've introduced myself as Humongous. That's the look on her face all the time. What's your name? Hugh. Humongous. It looks like she's looking at me like, humongous what? Humongous what? Like, that's what she's gonna come at me with. She looks grouchy. And by the way, that's an important thing. Like people wanted her to look grouchy. People are like, well, she doesn't have to smile for you. Okay, all right. Excuse me, So I'll ignore her every time she comes on the screen. Then I'll try to.
You'll try and you'll fail.
Yeah. So I mean, the whole movie, like, I mean, honestly, it feels like people sat around and said, all right, so Luke Skywalker was this vibrant, young, optimistic hero, who maybe in naivete, I mean, he always saw the good in people. He listened carefully to his elders. He wanted to learn. Do you remember how he wanted to learn everything that everyone? I mean, with my blast shield down, I can't even see to fight. How am I supposed to? Stretch out with your feelings, Luke. That's who he was. He was a really sunny, optimistic young man who wanted to learn. How can we take that character that made so many people feel good, and then picture him on the sail barge in Return of the Jedi in black, looking badass with his green lightsaber?
Oh, I remember.
People into the Sarlacc pit. Did he have to kick them all into the Sarlacc pit?
Yes, at that point he did.
He did. All right.
He was there to rescue Han and show that he was a man.
Some of them deliberately rolled down the hill into the pit, didn't they?
Yeah, and I think we have to lament the fact that Boba Fett died in the lamest way possible.
Yeah, that was weird. And his little girly scream as he died also upset me.
The Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, it was. Was it the Wilhelm scream?
Yeah, they. No, his wasn't the Wilhelm scream. It was lame. It was like ah, and then he hits the wall and rolls down the side of the sail barge,
and he deliberately rolled down. And I remember watching that as a kid. Like, you didn't have to get in there. Like, you could have. Like, you've been on a sandy hill before, and you started to roll, and you stopped yourself from rolling and climbed out. And those tentacles didn't move that fast. It's not like they shot out like a frog's tongue. They were slow. I mean, those people wanted to go into the Sarlacc pit. They wanted to. Most of them.
1,000 years of slow digestion.
Yeah, they were done. They were just like, I'm tired. Just do it, you know. But I mean, look, the whole thing is, it's like, so how can we take Luke Skywalker, you know, and how can we like totally bum everyone out? How can we destroy this hero? Oh, I have an idea. Let's reveal that he has basically isolated himself on an island and abdicated all responsibility for his family and friends. You know, and that and when she comes at the end of Force Awakens to hand him his lightsaber, he just looks at it like she's handing him a dog dropping. You know, it's like, I mean, I walked out of the theater like, what the hell is going on? Like, why couldn't you make him cool? I mean, the whole thing would have been, you know, she should have shown up and he was like meditating in lotus position, and she walks in with his lightsaber and he looks down at her and goes, all right, let's go. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that would have been badass. And then the X-Wing comes up out of the water, and then that would have been awesome.
I wish you wouldn't give me such hope for things that will never happen. Because you make me want to go, hey, maybe they'll get it right the next time. And now we know there will be no next time. So
no, there won't be, because Mark Hamill has basically given up. He said, no, I just like Luke Skywalker. And by the way, Mark Hamill did not give up the way Luke Skywalker had. Like, he held out hope longer than anyone did. And he was sunny, and he went on those interviews with Ryan Johnson and his perfectly round head. And the two of them, like, you know, Mark busted his balls kind of, you know, kind of on the low. But yeah, he did his best. And then finally yesterday, while you were away on vacation, so you missed this, he gave up. He said, never again. I'm done. I won't be Luke Skywalker anymore.
I knew I felt something on that car ride back.
Yeah, did you feel that tremor in the Force?
I had a chest pain. I thought it was indigestion, but no, it was my heart breaking for Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Think one more time about how cool it would have been had she found Luke Skywalker, and Luke Skywalker had isolated himself, but it was only to be at one with the Force. And he knew this was coming. He knew she was coming. And when she shows up, he looks down at her with perfect, serene, badass, ultimate Jedi Luke Skywalker and says, let's go do it. And then, boom, in the next movie, like, he was the answer to everything. It's almost like Batman putting on his cowl again and just being like, all right, let's go. And then he would just stick that lightsaber right up Adam Driver's rear end.
It's funny you brought up the Batman comparison. It reminds me of the end of Begins when he gives him the Joker card. I'll look into it. That's how you instill excitement for the next film.
Hell yeah.
One day on World Class Bullshitters, we're going to all go into the Nolan Batman trilogy in depth. That's going to be something that we do down the road. But you need a hook. Everything needs a hook. Like, okay, you're in comic books. You know this. You probably can't even count the amount of times you finished an issue where something big's about to happen and it says, next issue, blah, blah, blah. And people are like, oh my God, I can't wait for the next, month. You got to do that.
Yeah.
These Star Wars movies, everyone, with the exception of the original one, had a hook. Where's the hook now? I mean, like we've said earlier, what's the impetus to come back and stick around? And what is Disney?
Was that a hook? Was that a hook at the end of Force Awakens, in your opinion?
I hate to say it, but yeah, because the people were... Because here's the thing. Luke was like, he just took off the hood and it did the camera pan, and everyone's like, oh my God, what's next? Everyone was hooked. That's why it made the $1.3 billion in the box office, but then it didn't make any more because of lack of repeat customers.
I saw it, and I disagree about the hook. First of all, why did they save this till the end? And if they did save it to the end, why does he look so depressed and weak? And I was angry that he looked weak and that he was in hiding and he wasn't being a hero. And that might just be the DC Comics in me. Everyone has to behave like a hero.
I get that 100%. I think from their limited filmmaking ability, that's what they thought it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I really wanted Luke to be a part of the Force Awakens for the whole movie with Han. Like, they should have all been together at the beginning. There's no reason they all scattered. It's stupid. Because these new characters, it's in service of the new characters. Yeah, but the new characters suck intentionally. Like, you have some piss poor writers creating these characters. You don't have anybody with a Star Wars background. Oh, Lawrence Kasdan's involved. Yeah, by name only.
Really? What do you think that he contributed? Just plot?
I'm sure we know from from set reports that he was on set for the Solo movie talking about he didn't like the delivery or the way Lord Miller directed and stuff. But I don't really look at Lawrence Kasdan as this architect of Star Wars. I always look at him as the guy that came in and picked up from someone else, Lee Brackett, who I think died right around that time, and then made it better based on a story that somebody else created. So he just, to me, Lawrence Kasdan's name doesn't hold a lot of weight. He's like, I don't know. Well, I don't want to say like an inker because I have respect for comic book inkers, but he's like the next guy in the line. Because contrary to whatever Chasing Amy says, inking's not just tracing. Believe me, I've tried to learn it. It's fucking hard at times.
True, but it's a skill.
To me, that's the next step. There's a lot of great pencils, and then the ink comes in, and if it sucks, it sucks, and it makes it look flat and ruins it.
Yeah.
And that has been Jeff's comic book corner. But Lawrence Kasdan just comes in and and then people. That's one thing. That's a problem with Star Wars. If your name's involved with that movie, you are put on a pedestal. No matter how good or how shitty your contribution was, you're involved in Star Wars. Oh my God, there's a million people that want to pay you for an autograph.
Yeah. Yeah, so you don't think he did very much to positively affect the end result of those movies, or the first one? He was only in The Force Awakens.
He worked on Empire and Jedi, but
I know that. I just meant the new movies.
No, I don't know if he was involved in this Jedi. He probably was, but he's involved with Solo for sure. So,
I have a feeling. I have a really bad feeling about Solo. I know that's the cliche. I really, after seeing the trailer and seeing the train, I don't know. And then just seeing like glimpses of Han Solo, and he doesn't have any charisma whatsoever, and I'm worried about it. I'm worried about it. And by the way, I would just put Jabba the Hutt and Boba Fett all over the trailers. And I think they're being smarty pantses by if Boba's in there, he's gonna be in there only a little bit, like little glimpses of Boba Fett. Big mistake. Jabba the Hutt maybe at the end.
Yeah, and that's what's gonna hook people. Oh my God, Jabba and Boba Fett, blah 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 blah. It's like that wasn't enough. If this was Harrison Ford in I don't know, 2000, and we saw Jabba the Hutt, I couldn't have because it would have been a sequel. But you know what I'm saying? If we saw more Boba Fett or something back then, the impact would have been better. But they've already kind of watered down and damaged Boba Fett with the prequels. I know you said you weren't a fan of him earlier on.
I thought he was badass in the holiday special.
Yeah, he called everybody friend.
Yeah, he's like, okay, friend, and he rode like a one-eyed dinosaur. What was that thing with a long neck?
Yeah, I don't know the name of it, but I love that animation.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of the movie Heavy Metal, and I don't know. There's something about weird, low-budget Canadian animation that hooks me. I'm just like, ooh, really? It's kind of ugly, but it works, and I really like it.
Yeah, I mean, that was a good introduction. That was the most Boba Fett ever did, and he's a backstabber. Really? You're right. He calls everyone friend. What a creep!
Only R2-D2 can pick up on it.
Yeah. R2-D2 picked up on it. He's like, I don't trust this guy. I don't trust this dude with a mask and a jetpack that fires a missile into kids' eyes. Yeah.
Thank you, Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
We never got our rocket firing Boba Fett.
The other thing that you missed while you were away, is that two perfectly mint on card Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader, 1978 double telescoping lightsabers sold at auction for a combined total of $120,000.
What?
Yeah.
I wonder if it was Leonardo DiCaprio that bought it, because there's a rumor that he's a big Star Wars fan and collects like really high-end toys.
Well, that's the highest of the high end. Is there anything more valuable than that? I mean,
no, because a rocket-firing Boba Fett usually is like 25 to 30 grand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, you know the story of the double telescoping lightsaber, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Go ahead and run through it again.
Oh, yeah, for the listeners out there, basically, guys, so when Kenner developed the lightsaber in the original Luke, Vader, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, it slid out once and then slid out again. And I think there's even like a little mushroom tip on the end of it to determine if it's a real double telescoping lightsaber or not. But they quickly went to just the basic one, I guess, for costs, because it would break or it was just too expensive to produce. So then, like, I don't know, relatively soon it went to just the single telescoping. And most of the double telescoping ones seem to have been released in the early bird kit. Was that how it went? Either way, very few reached retail on the card. And if you find them in mint condition, you get them, 120 grand.
Yeah, well, the Obi-Wan Kenobi is the ultimate rare one. That is worth 65,000, and Darth Vader, arguably the better figure, but is only worth $55,000, and that is precisely what they fetched at auction. Yeah, I just remember the candle wick at the end of lightsabers. That always really pissed me off as a kid, and I didn't know why. You know what I'm talking about? It's like it had a thin, skinny little candle. That was meant for the double telescoping lightsaber, because you'd move the lever up the arm and push part of it out, and then you'd use the candle wick to pull the other end out. And I didn't realize that's why that kind of was on there. When they reduced it to a single action lightsaber, they kept the candle wick on there just for length, because the forearm wasn't long enough to hold a substantial looking lightsaber blade. So this is all very good. Somebody actually paid $120,000 for 2 Star Wars figures that I think retailed at $1.75. Now, is this good reason for people to go to Toys R Us tomorrow and buy up Force Awakens and Last Jedi action figures at 90% off? Is there anything that they should be on the lookout for that might hold some collectible value 40 years from now?
Rose Tico. Get every Rose Tico. Invest. Your kid's college fund is in Rose Ticos. No, honestly, it's just the rarity of the double telescoping lightsaber. I don't think any toy will ever hold that kind of value, because you got to take two things into account: the nostalgia factor with Star Wars, and the ubiquity of Star Wars, and then you also have to take into the account that these are things that were like essentially a quick change in production, that there's a handful of in existence. If anyone goes out to their Toys R Us to buy Star Wars toys, just go back and remember 1995's Power of the Force 2 line, and you will see that for everyone that went out to invest in every Star Wars figure in the line, 23 years later, they're only worth $5. So you've lost money in your investment. So keep that in mind. Same thing with comic books. You know this. You've worked in the field. You remember the black-bagged Death of Superman book?
Of course.
And all the
so collectible.
Yeah, with the armband and the trading card and all that. And now I've gotten books for a quarter, like Spawn. Remember how Spawn #1 was this highly sought-after book?
Yeah.
I got a first printing for $1.
Oh, boy.
Great condition.
And I really appreciate your videos where you actually go to, Tuesday morning. Where are the low-end kind of stores that you go and you find these toys? I mean, all these toys for like 25 cents when you scan them.
Oh, that was Kroger. That was a big grocery store chain here in Ohio.
Okay, so Kroger. And I appreciate that you told people, you said, those of you who had to go out, on opening day when these toys first hit the shelves, you wasted your time and your money.
Well, to me, when I say those things, I love fandom, but when people act on emotion instead of like sometimes logic, it hurts everybody involved. And that's what I think about the Star Wars merchandise. Like when you go out and you go, I gotta get me a Constable Zuvio and a so-and-so, because they're gonna be okay. Here's an example. Have you ever heard of the movie Fanboys, or have you seen it?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
There is Seth Rogen, the actor, plays this character. He's kind of like a hillbilly dude, and he is a big Star Wars fan, or maybe he's a pimp. Either way, Seth Rogen's in the movie, and he finds out that the main characters are big Star Wars fans. And all of a sudden, he lifts up his shirt and goes, "Hey, man, this is Jar Jar Binks. He's going to be the future of the franchise." And he has this huge Jar Jar Binks tattoo on his body. That's what I see when people rush out to invest, and I'm using air quotes that you can't see on the internet, invest in these modern Star Wars figures, or they go out and they buy everybody right away. They're like, "Oh, I'm so excited." So you give these companies your money because you're so excited, and then you just sit with crap you hate. Like, here's the thing. We live in a world where Amazon will discount anything, even high-end shit that people think is super rare. If you just wait, you can go to Amazon, you can get your shit for pennies on the dollar. The companies that you love to support have already been paid because Amazon bought it at whatever cost they paid. So, Hasbro and Disney and all them got their money. And then you get it for real cheap. So just don't be a crazy asshole. Go out there and wait a little bit.
Yeah, and the worst thing is, like, what if you went out and you said, I've got to get a Holdo action figure because before the movie even came out. And, you went out there, you got your Admiral Holdo figure. And then, like, you go see the movie 2 weeks later and you realize what she was. You see her on the screen and you got to come home to that action figure and you got to feel like you were assaulted.
Well, can I tell you a story? I had that happened to me once.
Okay.
So, what were you doing in August of '98? You said you were working at DC for about a year at that point, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me tell you about what little Jeff was doing in 1998. Jeff was excited about a movie called Small Soldiers. I could not wait to see Small Soldiers. I thought it was going to be the second coming. I went out and I bought all these toys. I was getting the coloring books and doing all this crap. I was really into Small Soldiers. And then I saw the movie, and the Commando Elite, the military guys I thought were going to be these big heroes in the movie, they were the bad guys. And I get home from the movie, and like they were trying to kill everybody. I was like, they're not what I thought they'd be. So I just stopped liking Small Soldiers relatively quickly based on that. I couldn't imagine going, though, to something like Star Wars where your heart's in it, and then like all these, you put like your heart's already there, and so you're opening your heart to more, and then it's ripped out even more.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Like, it does feel like a betrayal. It would really feel like a betrayal. The other thing that I wanted to discuss with you, one more piece of news, and this is more bizarre and kind of sad, and a little alarming about Star Wars. And I'm sure that you will cover the news now that you're back home. I hope that your channel does cover the Star Wars news. People need to hear it from you more than from me. I can't even get through these news stories anymore without crying. Like, most of my videos now, and people will tell you, most of my Star Wars videos now, I break down halfway through. And I start weeping, and I have to pause, and then I have to, let's compose myself, and then get through the story. Now, you're much more professional. You have a broadcasting background, and you I think your videos are much more substantial, less emotional than mine. So you will, I'm sure, cover these stories more professionally than me. But here we go. This is, I think, the biggest story. Everyone covered this. And everyone covered it like they didn't really know what they were going to do about this. So, do you know who Margaret Atwood is?
I do not.
Okay, so Margaret Atwood is an author, and she's got a Netflix TV show based on one of her books called The Handmaid's Tale. I don't watch it because I'm a guy, but a lot of women do watch it, and basically it's supposed to be kind of this feminist myth of an alternate future where, I don't know, but somehow everyone dresses like they're Amish, and I don't know. It's about women, so I don't watch it, like I said. But anyway, this woman, she said that, and she said it this week. She said the 9/11 terrorists got the idea for bringing down the World Trade Center from Star Wars. So she's blaming Star Wars for 9/11. And by the way, she's not blaming The Last Jedi for 9/11. She's blaming A New Hope for 9/11. So there's no way she's right.
What?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because like The Last Jedi wasn't even around, in 2001. So there's no way that like The Last Jedi gave anyone any idea to commit any terrorist act.
Like, where's the only Star Wars scene I can think of where any kind of ship crashes into anything is in Return of the Jedi, when the A-Wing crashes into the Well, he doesn't even mean to. He crashes into the ship, the Super Star Destroyer, and it crashes onto the Death Star. Like, when do they like kamikaze anything in Star Wars?
Well, let me tell you, because she's got her own agenda here, and I don't think we necessarily need to pay her very much respect. But she said, hey, she was talking to somebody, and this guy says to her, "They didn't get that idea from my opera. Don't worry," referring to the Al Qaeda terrorists who hijacked 4 commercial airplanes and crashed 2 of them into the World Trade Center. We all know that. We all know about this. She said they got the idea for the attacks from Star Wars. And of course, any normal person would say, "What?" Well, he answers, he said, "Remember the first movie?" Now listen to this. I'm quoting now. Quoting. 2 guys fly a plane in the middle of something and blow that up. That's, by the way, that's A New Hope. 2 guys fly a plane into the middle of something and blow that up.
This bitch is crazy.
Quote unquote. The only difference is in Star Wars, they get away. That's the only difference. And I read that and I was like, oh, yeah. The only difference between 9/11 and A New Hope was that, they got away. Like Luke and, Luke Skywalker got away. Han Solo, they got away. The 9/11 terrorists did not get away. Right after 9/11, they hired a bunch of Hollywood screenwriters to tell them how the story might go next. Sci-fi writers are very good at this stuff, anticipating future events. They don't all come true, but there are interesting what-if scenarios. So, yeah. So
what the fuck? That's all I can say.
Yeah, listen, I'm not completely non-empathetic. I will listen, and I actually considered this for a little while. I don't remember 2 guys in a plane going near something, and then I remember an X-wing. I don't know. I don't remember it being a. I don't know.
I remember an X-wing
different.
going down a trench in a fictional outer space station, shooting a proton torpedo into a hole, and it blew up. I don't remember anybody flying, first off, an airplane. Secondly, not even 2 people because they're single-man fighters. Thirdly, this chick is retarded. And fourthly, no. I just don't. No, Star Wars is not that kind of story.
When you put it like that, it just makes Margaret Atwood seem crazy. I appreciate your clarity.
This is where we are right now in society, that people actually give this woman a fucking platform.
Yeah, why would you ask her about Star Wars? Look at her. Oh, you can't see her. I'm looking at her right now.
I Googled this. I found an article at the Huffington Post. Then again, the Huffington Post is garbage itself.
That is true. Objectively garbage.
The only decent thing they have is like when you scroll down the page, there's a lightsaber at the top that gets longer, and it's kind of cool.
Is that right?
It's neat. I'll send you the link in a minute. It's really neat. I hate this website, but that fucking lightsaber is awesome.
Oh, wow. Oh, wait. I think I see it. Yeah. All right. I just went there myself, and I'm enjoying it. Yeah, I really... Oh, look at this at the bottom. Before you go, 5 quirky things you didn't know about Margaret Atwood. First of all, I don't know anything about Margaret Atwood except immediately that she's crazy. So I assume that anything else about Margaret Atwood is going to be quote unquote quirky. And that's generous. That's being generous. Goodness sakes. These people are nuts. You know what? I don't blame Mark Hamill. I don't blame him. I don't blame him for walking away and leaving, basically leaving Star Wars in a smoking ruin. It's not his fault.
No, he went down with the ship in a way, because now there's nothing left. It's that stain on the side of a mountain.
Yeah,
it's weird. It's really weird, man. Like Dion and I, back when we knew each other in college 10 years ago, we would sit around on the couch and drink and talk about Star Wars. We get so excited, and there's emotion and excitement. And now it's, I'm talking to a DC comic superstar, which 10 years ago, if you would have told me that'd be free, I'm like, no way. And then we're talking about Star Wars, and I go, oh, I wish it would just fucking end, and I wish I could just go to sleep and roll into a ball, because that's what Star Wars does. It's like It's like alternate 1985 where Biff is corrupt and powerful.
Oh yeah. So much so. Are we going to see? Are we really going to go see Solo?
Yes, yeah, we are, and we'll have to get back together and talk about it here or your channel or wherever. And
it's our job, right?
Yeah, at this point, it really is. Like, even though I was on vacation, I was writing fans back every day. Hey, guys, this, that, and the other. Thanks for the message. Thanks for the news. And now I'm back at the office, and the first thing I opened up was, some stuff about Star Wars, and I was just like, oh, God, it's like I never left. It's perpetual. When will Disney get the net? Like, stop it, guys. Stop
it. Well, we'll have to find out. We're going to do this weekly. I do want to get I thank everyone for joining us for the very first High Council. We kind of threw this together last minute, but we've been planning this for like 3 weeks. But we thank you very much, Jeff, for putting the site together. Now we're building it right now. The High Council is basically going to be it's not going to be like the Kumite because hopefully we won't fight, but it's going to be a jam session, pop culture live streaming chat room where once a week we'll hold events, and it should be diversity in comics, me and world class bullshitters every week, plus maybe 2 alternates that we kind of bring in. I mean, we have some great ideas. They're great YouTubers out there, and I want to give them exposure, and I also want them to expose us a little bit. But that will all happen on the High Council forums, right? Can we get that to work? I think we can get it to work next week, probably.
If everyone, okay, here's how this works, guys. We need it. Well, it'll go live. We can live stream tomorrow. We need to get 1,000 subscribers so we can make it like a legitimate live stream. And we're already at 448 in the last couple of hours. So, listen, folks, the link is in the description of how to find the High Council. There's already a YouTube page. Yeah, there's nothing on it. There's soon to be a trailer that Ethan made, so it's really fun. But it's going to be the go-to place to hear, like he said, the best place to discuss pop culture and the way we're going to do it. Like it is, it's a big jam session. I keep thinking it's like that band Chickenfoot, except we won't suck. So
I want it to be so crazy that if somebody in the live chat is saying something really interesting or really disagrees with him, we shoot him the link and then bring him in here to argue with us.
I love that idea. Invite Kathleen Kennedy. if she comes on, she's always got a spot at this table. I'd like to hear her try to excuse her way out of that fucking terrible movie.
Yeah, that would be great. And I'm sure she was listening tonight. But
by the way, Barn Keb, we already had Mauler, so I already got Mauler coming back at another date. So anyone that says get Mauler, got Mauler. He's coming back.
Okay, yeah, there are a bunch of guys that I really like. I like Just Some Guy. I like diversity, inclusion, compassion, and kindness in comics. He's a parody account of Zach's that he's fucking hilarious, and a bunch of other guys as well. We would like to just kind of trade people in. Let's have a jam session. Let's talk about the horrible things that are going on in Star Wars and other pop culture. Just have fun, debate. So what we need you guys to do is subscribe, hit the bell, and then share that link and tell your friends so we can get up to 1,000. We'll make this a weekly thing. We're good about listening to you guys. We'll take suggestions and ideas, topics, et cetera, et cetera. But tonight, I mean, just thank you very much for making this a pretty big, successful launch.
Yeah, we're definitely not Marvel. We're not going to shit on you and tell you what you need to hear. We'll give you what you want to hear because that's what we do.
Yeah, I think so. We're making hamburgers here.
Get Therm Scissor Punch. Sure, I'll get Therm Scissor Punch. He'll come over. We'll talk. We'll turn his little thermometer up, and we'll make it happen, guys.
Let's find the actor who played Therm Scissor Punch, and we'll bring him on our channel, and we'll just talk to him about it. What was it like? What was it like in that suit? And that's the kind of content I mean to provide. From my end, I would like to. I'll find these people. I'll bring them here, and we can yell at them together.
Well, you have that little, check mark on Twitter, so you're the best person for that. Because
Ooh, I might be able to influence people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. So thanks very much, Jeff. Thank you, crowd, and we will see you again next week.
Yep, we'll be right here. And folks, by the way, don't go away because in about 20 minutes, I'll be back with another live stream with Razor Fist. Yeah, that Razor Fist. He's coming on. We're going to talk about politics and all kinds of shit in entertainment. So it's going to get heated.
Hell yeah, I'll be listening.
All right, guys. We'll be back later. See you.